Good morning. I am Dr. Lou Tepperman, T-E-P-E-R-M-A-N. I direct the transplant services at Northwell Health. Today we're going to tell you about a remarkable story where Heather, who had a very unique syndrome, the Nutcracker Syndrome, got to give a kidney to Yvette. What is a Nutcracker Syndrome? You're going to hear from Dr. Elliot Grodstein today, but you know the famous story that Tchaikovsky put his music to. This is a nutcracker. And if you took a vein from the kidney and you crushed it like you were going to crush a nut, you would cause that kidney terrible pain. And this is a very rare syndrome that Dr. Grodstein is going to speak to you about. He took the kidney out of Heather, and she no longer has her pain. There's a shortage of organs, and where was that kidney going to go? So Dr. Grodstein, Dr. Elliot Grodstein, a master surgeon, and Dr. Ahmed Fahmy, another master transplant surgeon, performed these two operations. And without any further ado, Dr. Elliot Grodstein.
Thank you, Dr. Tepperman. I'm Dr. Elliot Grodstein, E-L-L-I-O-T G-R-O-D-S-T-E-I-N. And I want to continue to tell you about really what is a marvelous story about a Christmas miracle. Nutcracker renal vein, or Nutcracker Phenomena of the renal vein, is a disease that causes a syndrome called Nutcracker Syndrome. Nutcracker Syndrome can leave patients with a lot of pain, and I have a few slides I can show you about the syndrome. So the patients who are inflicted with this syndrome can have excruciating abdominal, pelvic, and flank pain. They can have blood in their urine. They can feel excessively tired. But the real problem is that it is a very rare syndrome. So patients end up going from doctor to doctor, and doctors scratch their heads and they remain puzzled. And eventually, after seeing what in Heather's case was over 20 doctors, eventually patients start to think that they have a problem in their heads and that this is all being made up and that there's nothing actually wrong with them. And that can lead patients down a spiral of despair and hopelessness. I can show you on the next slide. There is an actual cause for Nutcracker Syndrome, and as I said, it's Nutcracker Phenomenon, which Dr. Tepperman just showed you. But this is a kidney, and the vein coming out of the kidney here in blue gets crushed by some other structures in the abdomen. And if you look on the slide, you can see, I'm sure everybody here went to Wikipedia or Google School of Medicine, but the image up there shows you the vein, and the vein of the kidney is getting crushed, and there's all of these abnormal veins surrounding the kidney, and it causes a lot of pressure to build up in the kidney. You can go to the next slide. The pressure manifests as pain and bleeding. Now there are some fixes that we have, and the fixes are generally surgical. Most patients opt for something called autotransplantation. Autotransplantation is where you just shift the real estate of the kidney. So you take it from a location where the vein was getting crushed and squeezed to a place in their pelvis where other kidney transplants go, where the veins can flow freely from the kidney. What makes this story amazing is that Heather came to me, and Heather said, well, what if I don't really want this kidney back myself? What if I want to give it to somebody who needs it more? And that's remarkable. Heather turned her affliction, which is so rare, into a miracle for Yvette. And in today's world, where we're inundated with stories of COVID, and medical stories tend to be of despair and fear, this is something that's truly amazing. And it's so wonderful, especially now that it happened at the holiday, in the holiday season, and it gives us something to look forward to certainly gives Yvette something to look forward to, and it gives Heather something to look forward to, but it gives us all something to look forward to, that the medical system and Northwell, we're all still here, and we're still doing the work that we love. So I want to show you a video right now of when Heather first met Yvette after surgery in the hospital. All right, Miss Patton, I have a guest for you.
Okay, hi.
This is Miss Lucas.
Hello. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. It's great to see you.
Meet you. I really appreciate what you did. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
So great to meet you.
Wow, God bless you.
God bless you.
You were the perfect match.
God is not sleeping.
No.
I've been
And
in
he
dialysis
sees
for
you.
7 years,
Wow.
and I couldn't imagine this gift. So I really, really appreciate what you've done. Oh my goodness, it's so nice to meet you.
Amazing.
I hope we can meet again when
Yeah.
you feel much better.
You too. You feeling okay?
I feel much better. I'm
Amen.
better than I thought.
Good.
I walked, I'm doing everything.
Oh, good.
So,
That's awesome.
right.
Yay.
So you going home?
Today.
Oh,
yeah.
that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Wow. It's great
So
to
listen,
meet
if you guys want to, well, I guess we're going to all meet each other again on the 22nd.
Right.
And then you guys can have like more of a conversation, and if you guys want to share contact information.
Okay.
So as you can see, our healthcare system is still here for everybody. And though COVID-19 certainly bore its brunt on organ donation and on organ transplantation, and patients like Yvette were disadvantaged during the pandemic, and they're still disadvantaged because organ donation is low, there are still many, many Heathers out there who are looking to help people, and it's just it's heartwarming and inspiring for all of us. I want to introduce Dr. Fahmy, who was Yvette's transplant surgeon.
Thank you, Dr. Gradstein. I'm Dr. Ahmed Fahmy, F-A-H-M-Y. I'm a transplant surgeon in Northwell Health. Certainly a heartwarming story and a very special time of the year. When Heather decided to donate her kidney rather than the auto-transplantation, and Dr. Gradstein takes the kidney out, the kidney moves from one room to the other, and we start the recipient surgery. And I'd just like to also mention that when someone is donating his kidney, an altruistic donor who has no designated recipient, the kidney is offered to the first patient, to the patient on the top of the waiting list. In our case, it was Yvette. Yvette has been on dialysis for 7 years, and that highlights the problem of organ shortage in our area, where the average waiting time is 7 to 9 years. So Yvette has been on dialysis for 7 years. She has a disease which we call FSGS. It's a complicated disease with many variations and sometimes difficult to treat. And Yvette, despite her hemodialysis for 7 years, she works full-time as an accountant. And also her son had a kidney transplantation at the age of 15. She's currently doing very well. She received the kidney and she's off dialysis and doing very well, which is something we're very happy for. We cannot all be here now and not talk about the organ shortage. There is a severe organ shortage. People wait on dialysis for a long time. Every year counts on dialysis. The medical condition of the patient actually deteriorates every year. So the gap between the need and the supply needs to be filled, and people like Heather, we've certainly encouraged to come forward and donate their organs. I am very happy for Yvette that she'll be able to enjoy the holidays of dialysis. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Heather, and I am the organ donor for Yvette. I
started with flank pain in early of 2018, and it's been a journey getting here to finally meet with Dr. Gradstein. I've seen multiple doctors and surgeons and have had conversations about Nutcracker Syndrome. And it's been challenging, lots of testing, lots of conversations, and sometimes hopelessness. And I hope that my story conveys a message, brings a message of hope and encouragement to those that do have Nutcracker syndrome, and the option to donate their kidney is definitely something that they can explore. I had thought about donating through that journey, and it really was the only time I ever had peace about what I was going to do. I had multiple surgeries scheduled that I just never had peace about, so I ended up canceling them. And then when I finally was led to Dr. Gradstein, I spoke with him about an auto transplant because I thought maybe that was my last hope, or the only thing that I can do. And about 3/4 of the way through my conversation, I had mentioned to him that my heart's desire was to donate my kidney, and he just lit up and he was like, that's something we can definitely do. And that, for me, it just brought everything full circle, that I knew that I was in the right place. I knew that he had the right team that can help me. I knew that this hospital was where this was all supposed to happen. So I'm so blessed to have met him, and that he was knowledgeable of Nutcracker syndrome. And I did not have anybody in mind to donate my kidney to. I have met people in my life who have been on dialysis and actually had passed because they never received a kidney. And I thought about doing the auto transplant, but in my heart, I really wanted to donate my kidney if I was able to. We just needed to know that my kidney that I would have remaining was strong enough, and it was. So that was one of the best reports I could have received. And from the time I met Dr. Gradstein, it was just like the gas pedal was pressed and things just fell into place really smooth. And as I journeyed back through my journal of just, wondering how many doctors and surgeons and people I had spoken to, it was about 20 people that I had spoke to about this. It's just been an interesting journey, and I'm just glad that we're bringing relief here at the end of the year, closing out 2020, which has been an incredible year for all of us, but we're able to end on a positive note filled with hope, and hopefully inspiration to those that do have Nutcracker syndrome, to not give up, to find a surgeon who can act, who is knowledgeable of Nutcracker and who can help you, because they are out there. And this hospital is located in Long Island, New York. So if you have to travel, it's well worth it to get your life back, and also to give life to someone else. Thank you.
My name is Yvette Caton, C-A-T-O-N. And so my journey started in my late 20s. I had high blood pressure, and I was being treated for high blood pressure for a number of years, until I had my son at age 38, when my doctor had noticed that my creatinine started escalating. And from around age 38, 39, I started to work with a nephrologist to prolong the life of my kidney. I started dialysis in September 2013. I had gotten myself listed in 2012 So by the time I started dialysis in 2013, it was very traumatic, the first couple of months, I would say. But I got used to it. I knew that it may take between 7 to 10 years for me to get a kidney. And I was patient. I continued to work and to do dialysis 3 times a week. One of the things that did was reduce the time spent with my young son. So when I got the call from Dr. Grodstein that Heather's kidney was, well, what he said was he had an altruistic donor. And I never imagined that I would get a kidney from a living donor. I always imagined getting one from, a deceased person. So I was ecstatic. The thing is, not only was it the holiday time, my birthday was November 30th. And I got the call a couple days before my birthday. So this was a miracle to me. A miracle birthday present, a miracle Christmas present. My son was happy. He was so emotional. I didn't know this kid worried about his mom being on dialysis 3 times a week, seeing me coming home after dialysis, after working full time, going to dialysis, and coming home not feeling my best. Never knew that he worried about me, but all of this, he expressed how concerned he was. And so I must say that my son at age 15 also got a kidney transplant. He was born with a horseshoe-shaped kidney, and at some point he contracted some kind of virus, and when I thought he had a regular cold, by the time I took him to the emergency room, he had fluid in his lungs, and we had to deal with it. So in 2016, he had a kidney transplant at Mount Sinai, and he's doing very well. And I'm happy about that. So he knows that this transplant for me will also transpire my life. I no longer have to do dialysis 3 times a week. I have time now that I could spend with him. I know he's older, he's in college, he's working, but still, this gives me hope that, we could spend more time together. And I really, really thank Heather for being kind and donating her kidney. I thank Dr. Fahmy and Dr. Grodstein and Dr. Tepperman for all their hard work in making sure this happened. I'm grateful. I'm grateful.
So this is truly a story about fate. It's about fate for Heather, who came to a doctor who could diagnose the disease and knows how to treat it, who took adversity and made triumph for Heather and followed her wishes for a vet who's been waiting on the list for a long time. It is a gift. It is a Christmas gift. It is a Nutcracker gift. If you have any questions, please text Michelle, and we can answer them for you to the best of our ability.
We have one question. The question is for the doctors. Is it okay to give someone in need of a healthy kidney one that was potentially not so healthy?
It's a perfectly healthy kidney. It just had a vein that was being compressed. It was just in her not going to work, but going to work perfectly in Yvette. And what's also interesting is during the time of COVID, living donation is the #1 thing that has gone down dramatically. There are almost no living donors. They're canceling left and right because everyone's concerned. So you're a hero 2 times over.
And the question is to the ladies as well. How do you feel about that?
Do you want to go first?
You go ahead.
Can you be more specific?
What were you concerned about? I think you addressed what
during
were you concerned
COVID?
about. Yeah. No, about donating a kidney when you might not be that well yourself, and then donating. How would that be to have the one kidney?
So I did a lot of research. I had a lot of time to do a lot of research, navigating through this entire process. And I knew if my other kidney was healthy enough that donating my other kidney would not be an issue. So yeah, that's, and during the whole, although, you know, COVID was, you know, broke out around us, I just trusted that this was the path I was supposed to take and that the timing was now. It wasn't for me to wait any longer, but I knew that, you know, it was just everything aligned and fell into place perfectly. So
I think Dr. Fahmy wants to say how
Yeah,
perfect
peace.
it is.
Yeah, it's important to confirm that Heather's kidney function was not compromised. It's the pain that the syndrome causes that led her to donate the kidney. And before we take on the transplant, we confirmed that Heather's kidney function was normal. We did all the tests necessary to make sure that we are using a kidney that's healthy.
yeah.
The next question is for both of the ladies. What's it like to meet the person who saved your life and to meet the person you saved?
I'll take that. For me, it was an honor to meet Heather because you never know where. I didn't know where the kidney was coming from, but when I met Heather, I felt that I met a God-fearing woman, and I come up from a family, a Christian family. I call my sisters praying warriors, and I felt at peace when I met Heather. I was at peace and very happy. And you know, Dr. Grotstein had assured me that the kidney that she was donating to me was a healthy kidney. So I was pretty satisfied with the kidney, and I was even more happy when I met Heather.
Mm.
And how do you feel about meeting? Well, you've met Yvette before, but to see her well and healthy.
Yeah, I mean, when we walked into her room and just in the hospital, I don't know, it was kind of surreal to know that my kidney was down the hall in somebody's body. And I didn't know, like, you know, it was hard to wrap my head around that. But when I walked in and I met Yvette, and then we spoke about just her health and how she no longer needed dialysis, like that wrecked me, just to know that that part of your life is left in the past, you know. And I'm just really, I really am grateful that you are my match, you know.
Same here.
Along those lines, do you intend to stay in touch with each other?
Yeah, of
Yes,
course.
for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah.
Now, we're talking about Nutcracker. What are the symptoms that folks should be looking for? It's not a pain, you're not losing your mind. What should they, at the beginning, be looking for?
So I think it's, so Nutcracker causes pain mostly in the flank. In some cases it can cause hematuria, and the pain can be really, really bad. The problem with Nutcracker as a disease is that it's incredibly rare. And so many doctors haven't heard of the diagnosis. Many doctors are ill-prepared to diagnose and to treat Nutcracker. And that leaves patients in despair. I mean, when I first met Heather, and I looked through all the doctors she had seen, I quickly realized that she was going down the route of many Nutcracker patients, which is that they start to think that they're crazy, and they're not crazy. Part of the problem is that as doctors, sometimes we're not the best listeners, and as doctors, when we can't point our finger on a disease, we scratch our heads, we worry, and then we sometimes dismiss patients. And the best thing that I can say about all the doctors here, everybody who I interact with, who I'm proud to say are my colleagues, are that we listen. and we knew that something was wrong with Heather, and we weren't ready to say this is Heather being crazy.
Now, for Dr. Gradstein and Dr. Fahmy, how rare is Nutcracker? How rare is the condition that Yvette was dealing with? So Nutcracker, how rare would you say?
There's, it's somewhat semantic, but Nutcracker Phenomena is something that we diagnose on imaging studies. It's just a compression of this vein by the, come on, we got it here.
Here we go.
It's just a compression of that vein. Okay, so that's just something that we pick up on imaging. It's not as often that people actually have problems related to it, but it does. It happens, but it's incredibly rare, and because it's so rare, I can't give you a number because sure, yeah, it's on the order of 1 in 100,000. It's something that's really infrequent.
It's important to point out that we have to rule out any other problems at sources. Any other sources for pain, because it is a rare phenomenon and it's a radiological phenomenon. So we have to rule out any other issues before we make the diagnosis of Nutcracker syndrome.
I think these two gentlemen are being very modest. They've done many of these already. They're world experts, Dr. Gradstein and Dr. Fahmy, on Nutcracker, and so they know how to make this diagnosis, and they've seen it before. Northwell Health is a center for Nutcracker syndrome.
And for Yvette's condition, how rare would you say that is? 1 in?
It's very hard to answer. Because many cases go around undiagnosed, so we cannot. I don't know the instance, Elliot, if you can.
So FSGS as a disease is one of the more common causes that we interact with that cause your kidneys to excrete excessive amount of protein. The most common kidney disease that we deal with is diabetes and what we call diabetic nephropathy, which is where diabetes injures the kidney.
Yeah.
But FSGS is fairly
I thought you meant Nutcracker, but FSGS accounts for about 3% of causes of kidney failure. If you look at the pie of end-stage renal disease, FSGS accounts for about 3% of causes of people needing transplant or dialysis.
Now we'll let Dr. Tepperman end it off. This is the last. As surgeons, the three of you, as surgeons, when you see this type of holiday miracle, how do you feel personally?
Well, this is the time for us all to rejoice and feel good. It's been a tough year. You listen to Heather. Heather doesn't have to tell you. You all know it's been a tough year. So as watching the ballet, the Nutcracker Suite, this is a feel-good story. This is fate. This is what we're all here for what all religions in this time of year, we rejoice. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's all the questions.
Thank you.